You know we need to do this quickly so I can return home to my husband, Ariana hissed, eyes darting toward the door like it might swing open at any moment. He's getting suspicious, and I can't give him more reasons to doubt me. Ethan leaned back, his grin slow, sharp, and far too confident. Suspicion's a seed, darling. That's the whole tree. Her breath hitched. Her eyes flicked to the clock. Every second felt like a countdown. Relax, Ethan said, voice low and smooth like honey over broken glass. If you're going to sin, at least enjoy it. Her heart thudded in her chest, louder than the ticking clock. She should leave. She should run. But she didn't. And Ethan's grin widened. Quickly then, she muttered. He didn't have to win. She'd already lost. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and join us as we grow this community together for more interesting and thrilling stories. So let's dive into the story. The lavish banquet hall of the Grand Luxor Hotel shimmered with elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast soft, golden glows on the marble floors. Clusters of the city's wealthiest elite mingled, sipping on champagne and exchanging shallow pleasantries. The air smelled of wealth, power, and ambition. It was the perfect breeding ground for secrets. Ariana Scott entered the room, her figure-hugging red silk dress turning heads. Her sleek black hair cascaded down her back in perfect waves, her makeup subtle but stunning. Beside her stood her husband, Michael Scott, a modest but confident man wearing a black suit that fit just a little too tight around the shoulders. He wasn't a man of wealth, but he wore his dignity with pride. "Don't be nervous," Michael whispered, squeezing Ariana's hand. "These people are just people like you and me." Ariana smiled, but inside, she felt out of place. She had never been in a room with this much money and influence. Wealthy men with gold watches, women draped in designer gowns that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. But it was Michael's work event, and she was there to support him. "Mr. Ford is here," Michael said excitedly, his eyes lighting up like a child seeing a superhero. "Ethan Ford himself. He's the one I was telling you about, the real estate mogul. If I can get a chance to pitch to him, our business will finally take off." "Go for it, baby," Ariana encouraged, nudging him. "You've been practicing that pitch for weeks. You're ready?" Michael nodded, determination in his eyes. He glanced over at Ethan, who was surrounded by a group of executives hanging onto his every word. Ethan Ford was magnetic, a man who commanded attention without even trying. His three-piece navy blue suit was flawless, his tie loose but still elegant. His jet black hair was slicked back, and his sharp jawline looked like it had been sculpted by the gods. His smile was that of a man who knew he owned everything in the room, and if he didn't, he could buy it. Michael approached the circle of executives, his nerves palpable. Ariana stayed behind, sipping her glass of red wine and scanning the crowd. Suddenly she felt it. Eyes on her. It wasn't the casual glance of a stranger. It was heavy, purposeful. She turned her head and locked eyes with Ethan Ford. Her breath hitched. He wasn't looking at the executives anymore. He was looking at her. He tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into a small, knowing smile. It wasn't a grin of friendliness. It was the look of a predator who had just spotted his prey. Ariana's heart pounded in her chest. She looked away, pretending she hadn't noticed him, but she could still feel the weight of his gaze on her. "Mr. Ford, I'm Michael Scott from Horizon Logistics," Michael said, shaking Ethan's hand with a firm grip. "It's an honor to finally meet you. I've been following your career since your first big deal in Atlanta. Your work in the real estate sector has been revolutionary." Ethan barely glanced at Michael. His eyes darted over Michael's shoulder, straight to Ariana. "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Scott," Ethan replied, his eyes never leaving Ariana. "And who's the lovely woman you brought with you?" Michael smiled proudly. "This is my wife, Ariana." Ethan stepped forward, offering his hand to Ariana. She took it cautiously, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers. His grip lingered just a second too long. "Ariana," Ethan said slowly, tasting her name like it was fine wine. "Beautiful name for a beautiful woman." "Thank you, Mr. Ford," she said politely, forcing a smile as she pulled her hand away. She tried to act unaffected, but his stare was piercing. "Call me Ethan," he said, eyes still locked on her. Michael chuckled awkwardly, oblivious to the undercurrent of tension in the air. I'm hoping I can get a few minutes of your time, Mr. Fo. I mean Ethan. I have a business proposal that could be beneficial for both of us. Ethan leaned back, folding his arms, his gaze still on Ariana. I'm sure you do, he said casually. But I'm more interested in knowing how a man like you managed to marry a woman like her. Ariana's eyes widened in shock. Michael's smile faltered. Excuse me? Michael said, his tone suddenly defensive. Ethan raised his hands in mock surrender. Relax, I'm just admiring beauty when I see it. He gave Ariana another slow, deliberate glance from head to toe. That's a compliment, Mr. Scott. You should be proud. Michael stiffened but forced a smile. I am. She's my greatest blessing. Indeed, Ethan muttered, his eyes narrowing. Well, Mr. Scott, send your proposal to my assistant, and I'll have a look. Absolutely, sir, Michael said, his grin returning. Thank you for the opportunity. Anytime, Ethan said, his gaze still locked on Ariana. As Michael turned to leave, Ethan leaned in close to Ariana, his breath hot on her ear. Enjoy the party, Mrs. Scott, he whispered softly. I'll be watching. Her entire body tensed as goosebumps rose on her arms. She turned her head slowly, eyes narrowing at him. I'm not the kind of woman you can toy with, Mr. Ford. His smile widened into something wicked. We'll see. Hours later, Ariana and Michael were driving home in their modest Toyota Camry. Michael was beaming, still talking about the big opportunity they had just secured with Ethan Ford. Ariana barely heard him. Her mind was replaying Ethan's words on a loop. I'll be watching. There was something predatory in the way he said it. The way he had looked at her, like she was an object he had already decided belonged to him. It made her feel uncomfortable but also excited. No, she dismissed the thought quickly. She was a married woman. A loyal wife. She loved Michael. Are you okay, babe? Michael asked, glancing at her from the driver's seat. You've been quiet. I'm fine, she replied quickly, forcing a smile. Just tired, that's all. He nodded, eyes still focused on the road. Don't worry, babe. Things are about to change for us. I can feel it. I think this deal with Ethan Ford is going to open up doors we never even dreamed of. Ariana didn't reply. Her fingers tapped against the window, her heart still racing. She tried to focus on Michael's words, but the only thing she could hear in her mind was Ethan's voice. We'll see. 2 days later, while Ariana was walking home from the local coffee shop, she heard someone call her name. Ariana. Her heart stopped. She knew that voice. It was a voice she hadn't heard in years. She turned slowly and there he was. Blake Rivers. The man who had broken her heart into tiny pieces. He leaned casually against the wall, arms folded, his grin as cocky as ever. He wore a fitted leather jacket, jeans, and a dangerous smirk that always made her feel reckless. Long time no see, beautiful, he said, eyes scanning her face with familiarity. You look good. Marriage treating you well, huh? Ariana swallowed, her hands trembling slightly. What are you doing here, Blake? Just moved back into town, he said, his grin widening. Heard you were married now. Figured I'd see it for myself. Go away, Blake, she said firmly. Oh, come on, he teased, stepping closer. I'm just saying hi. You're acting like I'm a villain. Because you are, she snapped, her heart thumping faster than before. Stay away from me. Stay away, he said, his smile never fading. Nah, Ariana. You know me better than that. I don't give up that easily. She walked away, her heart in her throat, feeling his eyes on her the entire time. 2 men were watching her now. One from the top of the corporate tower, the other from the shadows of the street. And deep down she knew. Her world was about to burn. A week after the charity gala, Ariana stood at the kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone while her son played with toy cars at her feet. Michael was at work, and the house was finally quiet. Her thoughts kept drifting back to the night of the gala. Ethan's eyes, his words, his presence. It was like a ghost that refused to leave her mind. I'll be watching. She shook her head, trying to push the thought away. Focus on your family, Ariana. Focus on your family. Her phone buzzed. A new email. The sender, eford@fordglobal.com. Her heart stopped for a moment. Ethan Ford. She hesitated but clicked it. Subject: exclusive opportunity for Michael Scott. Hi Ariana. I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to personally reach out regarding an opportunity that could change your husband's business forever. I'm hosting an exclusive business retreat at my private beach estate this weekend. I believe it would be beneficial for you and Michael to attend together. Only 6 other couples will be there, all decision makers from top companies. This could be a game changer for his company, and I'd love to have you both there. Ethan Ford. Ariana bit her lip. A private retreat? With Ethan? She should delete the email. No good could come from this. But just as she was about to close the app, Michael called her from work. Hey babe, did you check your email? Michael asked, his voice filled with excitement. Yes, she replied, already knowing where this was headed. Did you see Ethan's invite? This is huge, Ariana. Huge. This retreat could give me a chance to land a big client. Ford is a kingmaker in this business. You know that? I don't know, Michael, she replied, hesitating. Do we really have to go? I'm not sure I'm comfortable. Babe, come on. This is once in a lifetime. Plus, it's a weekend at a luxury beach estate. You deserve a little vacation, Michael said, his voice filled with hope. Ariana glanced at her son, then at the email. Michael had been working so hard to make something of his business. If this retreat could help him, who was she to stand in his way? All right, she sighed. We'll go. Yes. Michael shouted on the other end. You won't regret it, babe. I promise. She hung up, her chest tight with anxiety. Something about this didn't feel right. The following Saturday, Ariana and Michael pulled up in front of Ethan's beach estate. The estate was a modern architectural masterpiece with floor-to-ceiling windows, marble staircases, and infinity pools overlooking a private beach. The sun reflected off the glass walls, making it look like a glowing palace by the sea. Wow, Michael whispered, awestruck as he parked the car. This is insane. Ariana glanced at him, forcing a smile. Yeah, it's beautiful. But deep down, she felt a pit of unease in her stomach. They walked up to the grand entrance, and as soon as they stepped in, a butler in a black suit greeted them with champagne flutes. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Scott. Please make yourselves at home. Don't mind if I do, Michael grinned, taking the champagne. Relax, babe, he whispered to Ariana. This is how the other half lives. We'll be them soon. As Ariana scanned the room, her gaze locked on him. Ethan Ford. He stood by the balcony, wearing a linen shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal his sculpted chest. He raised his glass of whiskey toward her, giving her a slow, wicked smile. Her heart skipped. Michael! My man, Ethan said, striding over to greet them. He pulled Michael in for a firm handshake and a back pat like they were old friends. Glad you made it. Welcome to paradise. Thanks for inviting us, Michael said eagerly. This place is incredible. Nothing but the best, Ethan replied, eyes flicking to Ariana. And I see you brought your stunning wife. Of course, Michael said, smiling at her. She's my good luck charm. Ethan's eyes lingered on Ariana for a moment too long. I'm sure she is. That night, Ethan hosted a lavish dinner for the 6 couples attending the retreat. The dining area was illuminated with soft golden lights, and the smell of truffle pasta and fresh seafood filled the air. Laughter echoed around the table as the guests shared stories of their humble beginnings, stories that always ended with, and then I made my first million. Ariana felt out of place. The women wore diamonds the size of grapes and couture gowns she had only seen in magazines. The men spoke about offshore accounts and private jets like it was normal. But Ethan? Ethan sat at the head of the table, his eyes locked on her like she was the only person in the room. Every glance, every smirk, every subtle brush of his fingers across his lips, it all seemed intentional. She avoided his gaze, but it was impossible to ignore him. Mrs. Scott, Ethan said suddenly, his voice cutting through the chatter. What do you think of the shrimp scampi? Too much garlic? Everyone turned to her. She felt heat rush to her face. No, it's perfect, she said, forcing a smile. I thought so too, Ethan replied, tilting his head. But I prefer something with a little more spice. His eyes bore into hers, filled with hidden meaning. Michael chuckled, oblivious. My wife loves spicy food. Oh, I bet she does, Ethan replied, eyes never leaving Ariana's. That night, Michael fell asleep early, worn out from a day of networking and free-flowing drinks. Ariana, on the other hand, couldn't sleep. Her thoughts raced, her chest tight with unease. She slipped out of bed and made her way to the balcony to get some air. The ocean breeze was cool against her skin, and the soft sound of crashing waves was calming. A bit late to be out alone, isn't it? She gasped, spinning around. Ethan was there. He leaned casually against the sliding glass door, his white linen shirt slightly open, his gaze locked on her like a hawk watching its prey. I just needed some air, she stammered, her heartbeat loud in her ears. I get it, he said, stepping forward. His voice was calm but dangerous, like a predator who knew his prey had nowhere to run. Sometimes the air out here is clearer than in there. Her back pressed against the balcony railing as Ethan moved closer. Too close. Your husband's a good man, Ethan said, his voice low, almost gentle. But a woman like you needs more than just good. Don't do this, she whispered, her eyes darting to the glass door, praying Michael would appear. Do what? Ethan asked, his lips curling into a sly grin. I'm just telling you the truth. He leaned in, his breath hot against her ear. You're beautiful, Ariana, he whispered, his voice like silk. You deserve to be worshipped. Her breath hitched. She knew she should push him away, but her body felt frozen. Her heart was thundering in her chest, and she hated herself for the way her skin tingled where his breath touched it. Don't, she said, but it came out soft. His fingers brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, his eyes locked on hers. Tell me to stop and I will. Her lips parted, words stuck in her throat. Her mind screamed, tell him to stop, but her body betrayed her. For a moment, they stood there, eyes locked, breath mingling. She felt herself leaning forward just a little. Good night, Mrs. Scott, Ethan whispered, pulling away. She gasped as if waking from a spell. He smirked. He knew what he was doing. As he walked away, his voice echoed in her mind. Soon, Ariana. Very soon. She stood there, heart racing, fingers gripping the balcony so tightly her knuckles turned white. This wasn't just a retreat. This was a trap. The soft light of dawn filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the beachfront bedroom. The waves lapped against the shore outside, their gentle rhythm a stark contrast to the storm inside Ariana Scott's mind. She lay stiffly in bed, her eyes locked on the ceiling, heart still racing. Her husband, Michael, lay beside her, fast asleep, his face calm and peaceful. His arm draped protectively over her waist, but she felt none of that protection. Her mind was still on Ethan Ford. Her lips tingled, as if her body remembered how close his breath had been last night. Her heart beat erratically just thinking about it. She could still hear his words. Tell me to stop and I will. Her fists clenched. Why didn't I tell him to stop? Michael stirred beside her, his eyes fluttering open. He smiled when he saw her. Morning to the babe. Morning, she replied, forcing a smile. You okay? He asked, brushing hair from her face. You were tossing and turning all night? I'm fine, she lied. Just couldn't sleep. Probably nerves, he said, leaning in to kiss her forehead. Today's a big day. I have my one-on-one with Ethan later. If I can just get him to back my logistics proposal, it could change everything for us. Her heart sank. Michael saw Ethan as his savior. She saw Ethan for what he really was, a man used to taking what he wanted. But she didn't say that. She just nodded and forced another smile. You'll do great, babe. Later that afternoon, Ariana found herself on the sun deck by the pool. She sat in a lounge chair, scrolling through her phone, trying to look busy. Couples played in the water, their laughter carried by the ocean breeze. But she felt it again. That gaze. Her pulse quickened. She didn't have to look to know it was him. Ethan Ford. He approached slowly, holding a glass of bourbon with 2 large ice cubes that clinked softly with each step. He sat in the lounge chair beside her, leaning back with casual ease, his long legs stretched out in front of him like a king surveying his kingdom. "Why are you avoiding me, Mrs. Scott?" he asked, his eyes hidden behind dark-tinted aviator sunglasses. Ariana swallowed, gripping her phone tighter. "I'm not avoiding you." He smirked. "Then look at me." Her eyes darted to him for a second, and she immediately regretted it. He had taken off his sunglasses, his sharp blue eyes piercing into her like daggers. "See," he said, his voice like silk. "That wasn't so hard, was it?" "What do you want, Ethan?" she asked, glancing toward the house where Michael was. He sipped his bourbon slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I want to know what it'll take for you to stop pretending." "Pretending what?" she shot back. "Pretending you don't feel it too." Her heart stuttered. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, turning away. "Yes, you do," he said softly. "I see it every time I'm in the room. You avoid me, but you're always aware of me. Just like I'm aware of you." Her breath caught in her throat. She hated that his words had a ring of truth. "Go find someone else to play your games with, Ethan," she snapped, standing up to leave. But as she walked past him, he grabbed her wrist. Her breath hitched as she froze in place. She looked around, but no one was paying attention. "Don't run," he said, his voice a low, commanding whisper. "Running only makes the chase more exciting." "Let me go," she said through gritted teeth. He held her gaze for a long moment before releasing her wrist. "For now," he said, leaning back into his chair. "But you'll be back." Her legs carried her away, but her mind stayed on him. Her body burned with anger, fear, and something she refused to name. Later that evening, Michael's one-on-one meeting with Ethan finally happened. It was held in Ethan's private office on the second floor of the estate, away from the noise of the other guests. Michael arrived with his tablet and notes, eager and ready. Ethan sat behind his grand mahogany desk, spinning a gold-plated pen in his hand. "All right, Michael," Ethan said, leaning forward with a charming smile. "Show me what you've got." Michael launched into his pitch. He spoke passionately about his logistics business, his vision for streamlining supply chains, and how Ethan's real estate projects could benefit from his company's efficiency. His enthusiasm was infectious, his knowledge deep. But Ethan wasn't listening. His eyes drifted to the security monitor on the wall. One of the screens displayed the living room where Ariana sat with the other guests, laughing with a glass of wine in hand. She threw her head back, smiling at something one of the other wives said. "Mr. Ford?" Michael's voice broke Ethan's focus. Ethan glanced at him, pretending to be interested. "Very interesting, Michael." Michael beamed, taking it as a sign of approval. "I believe with the right support, we can double your shipping efficiency within a year. It's a win-win for both of us." Ethan's lips curled into a smirk. "I like win-wins, Michael." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Ariana stepped out onto the balcony once more, seeking the cool night air to clear her mind. The wine had dulled her thoughts, and her emotions were in a foggy haze. She leaned on the balcony railing, eyes closed, letting the sea breeze brush against her skin. "Can't sleep again?" Her eyes flew open. Ethan was there. This time, he wasn't standing at the doorway. He was right behind her. So close, she could feel the heat from his body. "Ethan," she hissed, turning to face him. "You can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" he asked, his voice low, soft. "Dangerous. Showing up like this. Invading my space." He tilted his head, eyes scanning her face, his gaze lingering on her lips. "You're right. I shouldn't do that." He took a small step closer. "But I will." "Michael is right inside," she whispered, eyes darting toward the door. "Then tell me to stop," he said again, that same challenge from before. "Just say the words, Ariana, and I'll walk away." Her breath was shallow. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Her body was frozen. Her mind screamed, "Say it," but her lips didn't move. Ethan's fingers brushed against her cheek, tracing down to her chin. Her eyes flicked up to his, and she saw the hunger in them. It should have scared her. It should have made her push him away. But she didn't move. His lips met hers. At first, she stayed frozen. Then, like a switch had flipped, she leaned into him. Her fingers curled into his shirt. Their kiss deepened, passion surging like a wildfire. And then it was over. Her eyes flew open, and she pushed him away with a gasp. "No," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "No, no, no." But he was smiling. That wicked, victorious smile. He had won. "I told you," he whispered, backing away slowly. "You'd be back." Ariana stumbled back into the bedroom, her chest heaving. She leaned against the wall, her hands shaking violently. Her mind raced. What have I done? If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so now. Don't miss out on the drama, twists, and betrayals that will leave you gasping for more. Hit that subscribe button, like the story, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps the fire burning and the story alive. The next morning, Ariana avoided Ethan's gaze during breakfast. Her heart felt like a ticking bomb. Michael was bright, happy, excited about his meeting with Ethan. He kissed her cheek as he left to chat with one of the other husbands. Her phone buzzed. A new message. A known number. "You look so beautiful when you give in." Her heart stopped. She knew who it was. Ethan. She deleted the message, her eyes darting around the room to see if anyone had noticed. But when her gaze landed on Ethan, he raised his glass toward her. A toast. She knew then that she had lost control of the game. The ride home from the retreat was unusually quiet. Michael hummed along to the soft R&B music playing from the car speakers, his mood as light as a feather. He glanced at Ariana every now and then, his smile radiating contentment. "Can you believe it, babe?" Michael said, eyes still on the road. "Ethan said he's ready to push my proposal forward. If this works out, everything changes for us." "Yeah," Ariana replied softly, staring out of the window. Her reflection showed a woman who barely recognized herself. What have I done? Her fingers tapped against her knee as guilt twisted her insides. Every time Michael glanced at her, her heart ached. How could she sit beside him like this, pretending to be the same woman he kissed goodbye 3 days ago? "Earth to Ariana," Michael teased, nudging her arm. "You okay?" "Yeah," she said quickly, shaking her head like she could shake off the guilt. "Just tired, that's all." Michael chuckled, turning back to the road. "Don't worry, babe. When this deal comes through, I'm getting us a real vacation. No business, no work. Just us." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. A week passed. Things seemed to return to normal. Michael spent his time drafting contracts and making endless phone calls to secure the deal with Ethan. Every time he mentioned Ethan's name, a sharp pain stabbed Ariana's chest. But she pretended everything was fine. She played the role of the loving wife. She cooked dinner. She laughed at Michael's jokes. She even kissed him goodnight with a smile. Until one day, her phone buzzed while she was folding laundry. She glanced at the screen. A known number. "Did you forget me already?" "You shouldn't." Her heart stopped. "Ethan." She locked the phone and tossed it onto the bed like it had burned her. Her breath came in sharp bursts. A few moments later, the phone buzzed again. Her pulse quickened. A known number. "I'm thinking about that night." "Are you?" She clenched her fists. Her body shook with rage and fear. "He's not going to leave me alone." Suddenly, the door to the bedroom opened. Michael. Her heart jumped into her throat. "Hey babe," he said, walking in with a smile. "I just got off the phone with Ethan's assistant. The deal's moving faster than expected. Looks like I'll be signing the first contract by next week." That's great," she stammered, hoping he didn't see the panic in her eyes. She picked up her phone quickly, clutching it against her chest. "You okay?" he asked, tilting his head in concern. "Yeah," she said, faking a smile. I'm feeling a little off today." "Stress, maybe?" he asked, rubbing her shoulders from behind. "You've been tense lately. Want me to book you a massage?" "No," she snapped too loudly. Her own voice startled her. Michael froze, his hands slowly dropping. "Sorry," she said quickly, turning around to face him. I'm fine. I promise." He frowned, eyes narrowing. "Are you sure? You've been off since we got back from the retreat. Something's wrong, I can feel it." "Nothing's wrong, Michael," she said, placing her hands on his chest, staring up at him with pleading eyes. "I'm fine. I promise." He studied her face for a moment, his eyes scanning hers like he was searching for something. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, but if something's bothering you, I'm here, okay?" "Okay," she said, forcing a smile. "I know." But as he walked away, she knew she was losing her grip. Michael was starting to notice. Later that week, Ariana was at the grocery store, pushing a cart full of produce when she spotted a familiar face at the end of the aisle. Blake Rivers. Her heart stopped. He was standing next to a shelf of cereal boxes, casually tossing a box of Frosted Flakes into his cart. When he spotted her, his face broke into that same cocky grin she remembered from years ago. That grin that always got her into trouble. Well, he said, his grin widening. "Look what the wind blew in." She groaned inwardly and kept walking. "Don't stop. Don't look. Don't talk." But Blake wasn't going to let her off that easy. He stepped into her path, his smile dripping with mischief. "Ah, come on, Ariana. You're not even gonna say hi," he said, arms wide like he was welcoming an old friend. "I'm married, Blake," she said, her tone sharp as she tried to push past him. "And?" he replied, stepping in front of her again. "That never stopped you before." Her eyes widened. "Excuse me?" Blake tilted his head, eyes full of mock innocence. "I'm just saying, married women don't always act married." He leaned in, his breath close to her ear. "People talk, you know. I hear things." Her heart pounded in her chest. "Get out of my way, Blake." "Relax," he said, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "I'm just saying. If you ever get bored of Mr. Perfect, you know where to find me." "Go to hell," she snapped, shoving past him. Blake's laughter echoed behind her. "Hell, babe, we've both been there already." That night, after Michael had gone to bed, Ariana sat in the kitchen with her phone. She unlocked it, scrolling through her messages. Ethan's messages were still there. Her fingers hovered over the delete button. But then, another message appeared. "A known number. You can delete this if you want. I'll just send more." Her heart nearly stopped. How did he know? Her breathing became shallow. She glanced at the door to the bedroom where Michael slept, blissfully unaware. "I need to end this." Her hands shook as she typed a reply. "Ariana. Leave me alone, Ethan." A minute later, her phone buzzed. "Ethan. That's cute. But you don't want me to leave you alone." "Not really." Her heart pounded as she typed furiously. "Ariana." "Yes, I do. I'm done. Stay away from me." "Ethan. I don't think you're done. But if you insist, just know that I don't like to be ignored. See you soon." Her heart froze. "See you soon?" Her eyes darted around the room like she expected him to be standing in the shadows. The next day, Michael sat in his office, scrolling through his laptop. His brow was furrowed in deep thought. He replayed the odd moments with Ariana. The way she clutched her phone. The way she flinched when he touched her. The way she had snapped at him the other day. It wasn't normal. His gut told him something was wrong. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. "King's Private Investigations. This is Matt speaking. How can I help you?" "Yes," Michael said slowly, his voice steady but filled with quiet resolve. "I need you to follow someone for me." Discreetly. "Understood," Matt replied. "Who's the target?" Michael hesitated. "Ariana Scott," he said finally. "His wife." "Got it. Any particular reason you suspect something?" Matt asked. Michael's jaw tensed. His heart clenched in his chest like he was about to be hit by a bus. "Just a feeling," he said softly. "All right," Matt said. "We'll see what's in the shadows." Michael hung up the phone, his eyes cold and distant. He sat there in silence, staring at the wall. He didn't know what the investigator would find, but something in his heart told him he wouldn't like it. Michael Scott sat at the kitchen table, his phone resting face down in front of him. His eyes were locked on it as if it were a ticking time bomb. His fingers drummed against the hardwood, his mind racing with thoughts he didn't want to have. It had been 4 days since he hired Matt King, the private investigator, to trail his wife. Every notification, every vibration of his phone made his heart jump. Was he overreacting? Was he being paranoid? But that doubt was fleeting. He had seen the changes in Ariana. Her distant stares, her quick movements whenever he approached, the way she guarded her phone like it held state secrets. Something wasn't right. No woman changes like that for no reason, his brother Nathan's words echoed in his mind. His phone buzzed and he snatched it up like it was oxygen. It was a message from Matt King. Matt King. We need to talk. Call me. Michael's heart pounded as he dialed. This was it. Matt, he said as soon as the line connected. What did you find? There was a pause. Then Matt sighed. You sure you're ready for this? Michael's breath hitched. No, he wasn't. But he had to be. Tell me. You were right, Matt said. She's been meeting with someone. I followed her 2 nights ago. She went to an upscale hotel downtown. She didn't stay long, but long enough for it to be suspicious. The guy she met? I got a photo. Michael's stomach turned as his phone buzzed again. He opened the image attachment. Ethan Ford. Michael's grip on the phone tightened so hard his knuckles turned white. Rage boiled in his chest, but he stayed quiet. He stared at the photo, at Ethan's arrogant smirk as he stood by the entrance of the hotel. I've seen him before, Matt said. That's Ethan Ford, right? Michael closed his eyes. Yeah, that's him. You want me to keep watching? Matt asked. No, Michael said, his voice hard as stone. I'll handle it from here. That night, Michael tossed and turned in bed. His heart was too heavy. Betrayal. The word echoed in his mind, louder and louder, until he couldn't take it anymore. He got up quietly, not wanting to wake Ariana. Her back was to him, her breathing soft and even. How could she sleep so soundly while I'm breaking inside? He thought bitterly. He threw on a hoodie and jeans, grabbed his car keys, and left. He didn't know where he was driving at first. But as if on autopilot, he found himself on a narrow street lined with old, crumbling buildings. His headlights illuminated the sign that read, Papa Kofi, Spiritual Advisor. The seer who sees all. His hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. He'd heard about Papa Kofi before, stories whispered by men in bars about how he could bring justice to the unjust. Normally, Michael wouldn't believe in things like that. But tonight wasn't a normal night. He stepped out of the car, his feet crunching on the gravel. The door to the small house swung open before he even knocked. A tall, thin man in a long white robe stood there. His eyes were as sharp as daggers, his gaze cutting through Michael like glass. Come, the man said without hesitation, as if he had been expecting him. Michael stepped inside, and the air smelled of incense and burning herbs. Animal skulls hung from the ceiling, beads rattled with every step. The energy was suffocating, thick like fog. You're looking for the truth, Papa Kofi said, walking slowly to a small table in the center of the room. His accent was thick, but his words were sharp. Michael blinked. How did you? Sit, Papa Kofi commanded. Michael sat. Papa Kofi poured water into a black clay bowl, his hands moving rhythmically as he chanted words. Michael didn't understand. He threw in a handful of red powder, and the water bubbled unnaturally. Michael's eyes widened, but he didn't say a word. Your woman, Papa Kofi said, staring into the water as if it were a mirror. She walks with 2 faces. One in front of you. One behind you. Michael's hands shook. What do you mean? Papa Kofi looked up at him, his eyes like burning embers. She is yours, but her heart is split. Her loyalty is weak. And you want to know the truth? Michael nodded slowly. Yes. Then I will give it to you, Papa Kofi said, his eyes narrowing. But it comes at a price. Name it, Michael said, his voice firm. The old man's smile was slow, wicked. The truth will be revealed, but if she betrays you again, her punishment will be swift. She will not hide it. She will not escape it. What do you mean? Michael asked. Her betrayal will be exposed to all, Papa Kofi said, tossing more red powder into the water. It boiled violently. If she lies with another man, their bodies will be locked together, unable to separate. She will be humiliated before all who see her. Michael's eyes widened in disbelief. That's too much. You came for justice, Papa Kofi replied, eyes blazing like fire. This is justice? Michael was silent. Then he nodded. Do it? 2 nights later, Ariana sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone. Michael was in the shower. Her phone buzzed. A known number. Come to the penthouse. Just us. No one will know. Her heart pounded. She knew it was Ethan. She knew she should delete it. She knew she should ignore him. But she didn't. Instead, she glanced at the bathroom door, listening to the sound of the shower. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Ariana. I can't. Not tonight. Her phone buzzed instantly. Ethan. Then I'll come to you. Her eyes widened. No. Her heart thumped like a war drum. She typed quickly. Ariana. Don't. Not here. I'll come tomorrow. Her phone buzzed again. Ethan. Good girl. See you tomorrow. Her fingers shook as she set the phone down. She heard the shower stop, and she stuffed the phone under her pillow. I'll end it tomorrow. I'll end it tomorrow. I'll end it tomorrow. She repeated the lie over and over in her head. The next night, Ariana met Ethan at his penthouse. The lights were dim, the atmosphere intoxicating. It shouldn't have happened. But it did. Her nightmare had begun. Want more of this story? Backhand index pointing right, hit that subscribe button and follow the storm. Mobile phone with Ro, get the next chapter as soon as it drops. Speech balloon, drop a comment below. Who's the real villain here? Ethan? Ariana? Or fate itself? Red heart, share it with a friend and see whose side they're on. Who's playing who? Who will break first? Find out next time. Chapter 2, The Tycoon's Obsession is coming soon. You won't want to miss it. The first snow of November blanketed the city of Jacaster in a quiet stillness, the air sharp with icy breath. In the hospital corridor, a weary and anxious Michael Campbell paced back and forth. Moments later, seeing the doctor come out of the ward, he hurried over and asked urgently, "Doctor, how is my grandmother doing?" The doctor, a man in his late 50s with thinning hair, closed the door and shook his head gently. He sighed and said, "It's hard to say if she can make it through the night. I'll prescribe some analgesics to be injected every 3 hours to make her last moments as peaceful as possible." Michael felt a wave of dizziness wash over him. His legs gave out on him, and he leaned against the wall for support. After a long pause, he removed his glasses and wiped the tears from his eyes. Summoning the courage, he walked into the ward. Josephine had just received a dose of analgesics and was lying peacefully in bed with an oxygen tube hooked to her. She squinted at him with a kind smile and asked, "Michael, where's Emily?" It seemed that she knew her time was near as she wanted to see her granddaughter-in-law one last time. Holding back tears, Michael sat on a stool by the bed and forced a smile. "Granny, she's probably busy filming today." Josephine clasped his hand with her cold, unchanging hands and said, "It's good that she's busy. Michael, call her for me. I want to talk to her. I'm afraid. I won't make it." "Don't say that. You'll live to be 100. Michael squeezed her hand, but seeing the determined look in her eyes, he reluctantly took out his phone and called Emily Summers. "Sorry, the number you dialed is currently unavailable." Michael frowned and said to Josephine, "Forget it, she's really busy." "Granny, are you hungry? I'll get you something to eat." In response, Josephine closed her cloudy eyes. Parting her pale lips, she murmured, "I want your homemade eggs pomodoro." The hospital wasn't far from home. It was just a 10-minute drive. After a moment of contemplation, Michael called a nurse to give instructions, then hurried home in his second-hand Skoda. In the underground parking lot, Michael parked the car and opened the door, only to see Emily's figure in the distance. Near a white Land Rover, Emily was tightly embracing a man in a suit, crying her eyes out. Michael's heart skipped a beat, and he froze. He knew the man, Emily's childhood friend and her first crush, Benjamin Goodman. 3 years ago, for some unknown reason, Benjamin had cruelly abandoned Emily and gone abroad alone. During that time, Emily was a wreck. It was said that women were most vulnerable to love when they were at their weakest, and that's how Michael, her lapdog, managed to marry her. Michael knew Emily had someone she couldn't forget, but he believed no heart was too cold to warm. But now, Benjamin gently patted Emily's back, comforting her. "Emmy, 3 years ago, I thought my illness was incurable. Going to Etheria was just a gamble. I thought I would die sooner or later. That's why I left you. You don't know how much it hurt me to push away the girl I loved the most. I sincerely wished you'd find someone who loved you more than I did. Emily cried out. How could you be so selfish and foolish? Ben, I've missed you every moment of these 3 years. I knew you had a reason for leaving. Please, don't ever leave me again. Benjamin caressed Emily's cheek, his eyes full of affection. Silly girl, I won't leave again. I know you don't love that Campbell guy, right? Emily hesitated, then bit her lip. Before she could respond, her gaze fell on Michael, who was approaching slowly. Let her go. Benjamin instinctively released Emily and turned around. He was surprised to see Michael. Following that, he smirked, provocatively wrapping his arm around Emily's waist. Emily stiffened slightly and hesitated. In the end, she removed Benjamin's hand and walked toward Michael but was unable to meet his eyes. Michael, did you see everything? I'm not blind. Michael's face was expressionless. He took a deep breath and said, Come with me to the hospital. Benjamin stepped forward and scrutinized Michael's outdated attire. With a half-smile, he spoke up. You must be Michael. I remember you used to chase after Emily in high school. You were just as shabby then, like a country bumpkin. Looks like you haven't changed. Michael stared at Emily and repeated, Come with me to the hospital. Granny wants to talk to you. Emily frowned and was about to speak when Benjamin interrupted. Michael, you should know about my relationship with Emily. And you should know she never really has feelings for you. With that, Benjamin took out a checkbook from his pocket, tore off a check, and handed it to Michael. His tone was sincere but mocking. Thank you for taking care of her these past 2 years. Fill in any amount you want as my token of gratitude. Unable to bear it any longer, Michael shoved Benjamin and yelled, Did I say I was talking to you? The latter stumbled, his back colliding with the hood of the Land Rover. At once, he clutched his chest, his face contorted with pain. Emily's eyes widened, and she pushed Michael away. Michael, what are you doing? He's not well. Can you take responsibility if something happens? She exclaimed, clearly agitated. She hurriedly helped Benjamin up. Ben, are you okay? Benjamin breathed heavily. His lips were clamped tightly shut, and it appeared as though he was enduring intense pain. I'm fine. I'm fine. How can you say you're fine? I'll take you to the hospital. Emily struggled to get Benjamin into the passenger seat. As she walked around to the driver's side, she glared at Michael. Get lost. I don't want to see you. Michael clenched his fists and said, Emily, I'll say it one more time. Come with me to the hospital. Granny isn't going to make it. His last sentence was cut off by the closing car door. Watching the Land Rover speed away, Michael pushed up his thick, black-framed glasses resting on the bridge of his nose and took a deep breath. Then, he allowed a bitter smile to form on his lips. Forget it, forget it. Michael had always deluded himself into thinking he could win her over with his efforts. Even though he knew deep love was far less substantial than mutual love, he still clung to his one-sided wishful thinking. However, there had to be a limit. In situations like this, if he kept pestering her, asking her to pay attention to him, he'd be asking for trouble. Reality often unfolds in this way. When the prince she could not stop thinking about appears, the princess could only tell the ugly man kindly, You're a good person, then, guided by the principle of I know I owe you, but you must stay away from me, she would depart with her prince to live happily ever after. In the end, Josephine didn't make it to the next day. At 11:30 in the evening, she peacefully passed away. The older generation always valued the concept of returning to one's roots. According to tradition, Michael hired a funeral home's car to take her back to her rural hometown overnight. Upon hearing the news, neighbors came to help. They knew Josephine had no other relatives except her grandson. Besides, Michael didn't know much about funeral arrangements. Kneeling in the funeral altar all night, Michael was dozing off around noon as he didn't get a good night's sleep in days. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. He pulled it out to find a WhatsApp message from someone saved as Alexis, containing 4 screenshots and a message. Should I make him disappear? The screenshots included 2 paparazzi photos of Emily and Benjamin walking hand in hand. The other 2 were comments from netizens. One comment read, Is Emily going to announce her relationship? Another read, Congrats. I heard the guy is a wealthy heir. The following comment read, Isn't it normal for actresses to go after rich guys these days? What's the big deal? Emily was now a top-tier celebrity. It was quite normal for paparazzi to follow her around the clock. As for why no one questioned her infidelity, it was because her marriage to Michael was a secret to avoid affecting her career. As it turned out, true love would never hinder one's career. Michael rubbed his temples and replied to Alexis, "Don't do anything." He put his phone away. Just then, someone called from outside the funeral altar, "Anyone there?" Michael quickly gave a polite bow. When he stood up, he saw a big burly man in a suit coming to pay respects. It was Bartholomew. Easily over 200 pounds, Bartholomew couldn't button his suit, and his belly pushed against his thighs as he gave a deep bow. He looked quite comical. After paying his respects, Bartholomew shuffled over to Michael and secretly handed him a phone expressionlessly. Like two spies meeting secretly, he whispered, "Someone wants to talk to you. No matter who I am, someone's on the other end of the line, so just answer it." Michael skeptically glared at Bartholomew's face and slowly took the phone. "Hello." "Michael." The voice on the other end was one Michael knew all too well. "It's me, your dad." Michael was somewhat surprised, then he smiled faintly. "Oh, you're still alive? The heavens must be blind." Bartholomew's face turned green. There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a sigh. "Sometimes I wonder if you're really my son. Why are you so sarcastic?" Michael snorted coldly, "Aaron, even though my granny was your third wife's mother, she was still your mother-in-law. If you have any decency, come pay your respects." The man, whose frown could send shivers down the spines of business people all over Jackaster, seemed unperturbed and chuckled. "Let Bartholomew do it for me. I'm a bit inconvenient at the moment." Michael pursed his lips and looked askance at Bartholomew. "He said you need to bow 800 times before you can leave." Bartholomew was speechless. Aaron laughed aloud. Even though he hadn't seen his illegitimate son in over a decade, he knew Michael's character all too well. After laughing for a bit, his tone suddenly became serious. "Let's talk business, Michael. 2 years ago, when you first returned to the country, I wanted you to rejoin the Campbell family. But you said you wanted to take care of your granny, so I didn't press you. Now that she's passed, isn't it time for you to come back?" The Campbell family was the top family in Jackaster. However, Michael was completely indifferent to this wealth. "Go back and do what? Help you kick the bucket? Are you almost there?" Bartholomew lost his footing and ended up stumbling to the ground. "Michael, I know you hate me, but now is not the time to be stubborn. You are my only son. Your grandfather's health is deteriorating day by day, and I think... So, you want me to come back and help you fight for the inheritance? Are you already eager to replace that old codger?" "Ha," Michael interrupted coldly, "don't forget, I'm just an illegitimate child. I have neither the qualifications nor the interest." There was another long silence on the other end. Aaron suddenly said, "Don't think I don't know that you've been investigating that matter all these years." Michael's pupils shrank instantly, but he quickly regained his composure and asked in a low voice, "What else do you know?" "Son, no matter what, I'm still your father. You've been hiding for 10 years. That can fool others, but not me. By the way, I just saw the news. Your little wife seems to be running off with someone else? Son, those foolish romantic notions are only pursued by the lower class. You shouldn't be making such a rookie mistake. There's no woman in this world that money can't buy. I've prepared a grand gift for you, the most beautiful woman in Jackaster. Do you want her? If you come back, you can marry her immediately." Michael seemed uninterested in Jackaster's most beautiful woman and merely mocked, "Lower class? Well, Aaron, in some ways, you're not even human. Enough with the insults. Leave me some dignity, you little brat. The opportunity only comes once. I'll give you a week to think about it. Oh, and a reminder, the Campbell family is vast and well-connected, which might help with what you're investigating. I hate to burst your bubble, but with your current abilities, you might never find out the truth in this lifetime." Michael fell silent, pondering for a long time before gritting his teeth. He responded, "Aaron, don't you want to know the truth about what happened back then? Sometimes, I really want to cut open your chest to see if you have a heart." Aaron chuckled lightly and reminded heartlessly, Don't forget, you have a week. Time waits for no one. Then the call was cut off. In a fit of rage, Michael flung his phone onto the ground. His eyes were bloodshot, but a hint of moistness began to emerge within his eyes. Bartholomew looked at the shattered phone and wanted to say, "Why the H*L are you smashing my phone when you're angry?" However, seeing Michael's murderous expression, he swallowed his words and continued paying his respects to the dead. Michael was his young master after all. Meanwhile, in Benjamin's mansion, Emily was sitting on the sofa peeling an apple, while Benjamin was showing Emily's mother around the house. "Mrs. Summers, this is the new house my dad bought for me last month. He plans for me to use it for my wedding. If you don't mind, you can move in today." "Oh, how can I accept that?" Olivia Johansson feigned reluctance, but her gaze was full of approval for Benjamin. Benjamin was not only handsome and tall but also came from a wealthy family. His parents were prominent businesspeople, making him a perfect match in any mother-in-law's eyes. Benjamin smiled. "Mrs. Summers, you and my parents are old acquaintances. Besides, Emmy and I have always been in love. It's only natural for you to move in." Olivia laughed heartily and walked over to Emily. She instructed, "Emily, call that loser and tell him to come over. You two should get a divorce today. I was against you being with him from the start, but you seem to be bewitched," claiming he was caring, gentle, and considerate. Realizing she might have said too much, Olivia quickly stopped talking. After an awkward pause, she looked at Benjamin. "Ben, don't worry. Nothing happened between Emily and that loser. I guarantee it with my honor." "Mom." Emily frowned, displeased. "What are you talking about?" Perhaps even she didn't know why she ended up with Michael in the first place. Women often have two choices: to pursue the man they love or to settle for the one who loves them. Emily's strong-willed nature naturally led her to the first choice. Alas, that choice brought heartbreak and dissatisfaction. So, she settled for the second choice. And now, her first choice was back. The misunderstanding that had caused Benjamin to abandon her 3 years ago was resolved, and the man who had loved her unconditionally was destined to lose. "Here, have an apple." Emily got up and handed the peeled apple to Benjamin, her gaze affectionate. Truth be told, Emily's looks, figure, and temperament were top-notch. She could drive any man crazy. Years ago, some bored and influential young heirs in Jacaster created a beauty ranking updated each season. Emily had almost always been in the top 3, though at 28, she was likely to drop from the top 3 this year. After all, time waits for no one, and one's youth will never return. Speaking of the beauty ranking, one couldn't help but mention the reigning queen, the most beautiful woman in Jacaster. She made it to the list during her freshman year and has held the top spot for 7 years since. Many influential figures were so captivated by her beauty that they lost their senses, employing every means to possess her. However, this stunning lady remained aloof and indifferent. Coming from a well-off family, she was untouched by others even at the age of 25. Benjamin took a bite of the apple Emily handed him. "It's really sweet." The two of them stood face to face, almost touching each other. From a distance, they looked like a perfect match. Seeing their intimacy, Olivia tactfully said, "Emily, you keep Ben company. I'll make some dishes, and we can have a reunion dinner to celebrate Ben's recovery and your reconciliation." As Olivia went into the kitchen, Benjamin naturally hugged Emily and leaned in to kiss her. However, Emily subconsciously turned her face away and said shyly, "Ben, don't. I haven't divorced Michael yet." A cold glint flashed in Benjamin's eyes, but he remained gentle. "Okay, I respect your wishes. Emmy, you should meet him soon and finalize the divorce. I can't wait to marry you." Emily nodded gently. "Okay." In the afternoon, Michael went door to door to express his thanks to the neighbors. Since he was carrying out a funeral, he couldn't enter the homes. Thus, he simply bowed at the door and handed each person a monetary gift as a token of gratitude. In the evening, just after he finished dinner, Emily called him. Already feeling irritable and distracted, he had no inclination to deal with her. Yet, despite repeatedly hanging up, she persistently called back. Frustrated, he finally answered the phone. "Yeah? Where are you?" Emily's voice on the other end was icy, as if she was on the verge of exploding. "Why haven't you answered your phone these past 2 days?" Over the past 2 years, Michael had always been compliant and never dared to ignore her calls. "In the countryside at Granny's house," he replied, his tone even colder than hers. Hearing that, Emily, who had been blinded by love in the past few days, suddenly remembered that the elderly woman had been staying in the hospital recently. She had visited her half a month ago and noticed that her conditions seemed to be deteriorating. Her tone softened. "How is Granny? Why didn't you bring her home? Why did you take her directly to the countryside?" "Michael, don't be childish. Our issues shouldn't affect Granny as she's very frail." Although she usually treated Michael with indifference, she had always been kind to Josephine. Michael nearly laughed in anger, but he managed to suppress his fury and replied, "No need for your concern. I've already buried Granny." Emily's heart skipped a beat. "When did this happen? Michael, why didn't you tell me?" "Heh." Michael felt a pang of bitterness and replied harshly, "Emily, listen up. You're not worthy of calling her Granny. I know why you're calling. Wait for it. I'll be back tomorrow morning, just as you wish." Having said that, he promptly ended the call. Emily felt disoriented. She hadn't expected Josephine to pass away so suddenly. The kind old woman had always been exceptionally considerate toward her. Just last winter, despite her illness, she had secretly knitted a scarf for Emily. These kindnesses were something Emily would never forget. At that moment, she recalled the other day in the underground garage when Michael had insisted she go to the hospital. It turned out that was the day Josephine. A strong wave of regret washed over Emily, and she couldn't help but blame herself inwardly. In reality, she was not a heartless person. Over the past 2 years, besides her grandmother, Chu Yuxuan's meticulous care for her had always left her feeling guilty. But in the end, guilt was just guilt. It couldn't be considered love. Now, she was determined to be with Benjamin. This divorce was inevitable. At worst, she would give Michael more money, considering it as her compensation. She remembered when she first met Michael, in her early days of middle school. Back then, his attire and demeanor had the aura of a young noble. Back then, he didn't wear glasses, and his handsome features were just beginning to emerge. He was one of the tallest in the class, with long legs, elegant fingers, and a fair, delicate neck that always drew attention from the young girls. They would cover their mouths in excitement and gossip about him after he walked by. However, within a semester, he seemed to lose that air of wealth and became ordinary. By the second semester of grade 11, Michael had seemingly vanished for 7 or 8 years, only to reappear 2 years ago as an Uber driver. Emily never inquired about his past. Even when he was in a good mood and mentioned old times, Michael always remained silent, as if he had done something shameful during his disappearance. In Emily's mind, Michael was a handsome but useless man who lacked money. The next day, Michael returned to his house in the city early in the morning. The house was quiet, and the master bedroom door was open, indicating that Emily wasn't home. Michael didn't care where she was. He took out the divorce agreement he prepared yesterday from his bag and signed his name with a flourish, then placed it on the coffee table in the living room. He then packed his and Josephine's belongings into a suitcase. As he was getting ready to leave, he heard the sound of the door code being entered. Click. The door opened, and Emily walked in with Benjamin and Olivia, chatting and laughing. Their harmonious atmosphere made them look like a family. When Emily saw Michael standing in the living room, her smile vanished, replaced by a guilty expression. On the other hand, Benjamin smirked provocatively. He pulled Emily closer by the waist and tilted his head, giving Michael a look. Olivia reacted most strongly, pointing at Michael and yelling, "You useless piece of trash! You finally showed up? Do you think you can avoid the divorce by ignoring our calls? Oh, Benjamin, can you change the door code? I don't want some broke loser sneaking in at night to steal." "Mom, stop saying that." Emily scolded her mother, then turned to Michael. Her gaze was evasive as she was unsure of what to say. Michael was well acquainted with his mother-in-law's sharp tongue and didn't bother responding. He looked at Emily coldly and said, "The divorce agreement is on the coffee table. Today is Saturday, so the city hall isn't open. Pick a time and call me when you're free. I'll come over to finalize the divorce." After a pause, Michael added, "Don't keep me waiting too long." "Divorce agreement?" Olivia rushed to the coffee table. Picking up the paper, "You broke loser. You must be demanding a fortune, right? Let me tell you, you can dream about leaving with nothing?" Olivia was incredulous, glaring at Michael suspiciously. "What kind of trick are you playing now?" Emily's face was grim. Although Michael's decisiveness was what she wanted, she couldn't help but feel a bit lost. She had expected Michael to show some reluctance, even if it meant throwing a tantrum. Now, his cold and indifferent demeanor made him seem like a stranger, deepening her guilt. "Michael, I know you love me, but I can't miss out on Ben. It's my fault, and I apologize to you and Granny. You don't have to leave with nothing. How about this house? I find it filthy." Michael interrupted coldly, picking up his suitcase to leave. Benjamin seemed to be stung by the word filthy. He pushed Michael away and scowled. "Watch your mouth, Michael. Have you ever considered what you are? Don't you realize she's out of your league? Ha!" With that, he pulled out a wad of checks and handed one to Michael. "Fill in whatever amount you want. Just stay away from our Emily." Emily opened her mouth, wanting to stop Benjamin's insult to Michael. However, before she could speak, Michael took the check. With a devilish smile, he responded, "I'll go ahead and do that." Truly, a worthless piece of trash, Emily thought to herself. The next second, she saw Michael writing zero after zero on the check. 1 billion? Benjamin raised an eyebrow and mocked, "Have you gone mad?" "Ha!" Michael sneered, crumpling the check and tossing it on the floor. As he walked out, he muttered, "Pathetic?" In the basement, Michael paused by a trash can. He removed the thick black-framed glasses with no prescription and threw them away. Just as he got into his car, his phone buzzed with a message from Alexis. "Did he push you with his left hand?" "I'll cut it off tonight." Michael felt a throbbing in his temples. He raised his hand to rub them, then promptly made a voice call. The other party answered swiftly. "Alex, are you that idle lately? You're stalking and peeping on me? Your eyesight is good enough to see from the opposite building?" There was silence before a low voice replied, "Binoculars?" Michael rolled his eyes. "Do what you're supposed to do. Don't act recklessly. Remember, my family might still be watching me." "But are you going back to the Campbell family?" Michael exhaled, looking at his reflection in the rearview mirror. He affirmed, "Yes." Michael Campbell drove through the snow-covered streets of Jacaster, his gaze fixed firmly on the road ahead. The city's towering skyline loomed in the distance, cold and indifferent, much like the people he'd just left behind. His fingers tightened on the steering wheel, his jaw set with grim determination. For too long, he had allowed himself to be a bystander in his own life. But something inside him had shifted. The world had stripped him of everything. His pride, his love, even the last member of his family. Now, there was nothing left to lose. The Campbell family mansion was a monument to excess. It stood atop a hill, surrounded by wrought iron gates, its grand facade illuminated by the soft glow of floodlights. The drive leading up to the estate was lined with meticulously pruned hedges, each leaf perfect in its placement. Michael's car came to a stop at the gate. The intercom crackled to life. "State your name and business," a stern voice demanded. Michael's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Michael Campbell. Tell Aaron his son has returned." There was a long pause on the other end. Then, with a loud buzz, the iron gates slowly swung open. Michael's car crawled up the driveway, his eyes scanning the grounds. Men in suits patrolled the area, each one carrying a discreet earpiece. Security had always been tight at the Campbell estate, but today it seemed more like a fortress. It was no surprise. The family's enemies were as numerous as its allies. He parked his car near the entrance and stepped out, his boots crunching against the fresh snow. The cold air stung his face, but he felt nothing. Not the chill. Not the grief. Nothing but a steady, burning resolve. The grand doors opened before he could reach them. Bartholomew, as large and imposing as ever, filled the entryway. His eyes flicked over Michael's appearance, noting the absence of the thick black-framed glasses. "Looking sharp, young master," Bartholomew said with a smirk. "Spare me the pleasantries, Bart. Michael replied, his voice like steel. Where's Aaron? Bartholomew's smirk faltered. In the study, as usual. Michael's footsteps echoed through the grand hallway. The familiar scent of old leather and polished wood filled his nostrils. Portraits of past Campbell patriarchs lined the walls, their eyes cold and judgmental. His gaze locked with theirs, and for the first time, he did not look away. When he reached the study, he didn't bother knocking. He pushed the double doors open with both hands. The room smelled of cigar smoke and old paper. Aaron Campbell sat behind a mahogany desk, a glass of whiskey in hand, his gaze as sharp as ever. "You're late," Aaron said, swirling his drink. "I expected you yesterday." "Granny deserved to be buried properly," Michael shot back, his eyes blazing with defiance. Aaron's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. Instead, he gestured to the chair in front of him. "Sit. We have much to discuss." Michael stayed standing. "I'm not here to negotiate, Stern. I'm here to take back what's mine." A cold, humorless laugh escaped Aaron's lips. "Yours? You've been away too long, boy. This world isn't kind to those who dream." "Then it's a good thing I'm done dreaming," Michael said, stepping forward. "I've seen what's out there. I've seen betrayal, greed, and the rot that comes from power unchecked. I'm not here to play your games, old man. I'm here to win." Aaron's gaze darkened, his fingers tapping against the desk's surface. "And what's your plan, then? To fight your father for scraps of an empire you've never built?" "I'm not fighting for scraps," Michael said, leaning forward, his hands pressed firmly on the desk. "I'm taking the whole damn table." Aaron's eyes locked with Michael's, the tension between them thick enough to cut with a blade. The room seemed to shrink, the heavy silence wrapping around them like a shroud. "Bold words for a boy who's been gone for years," Aaron muttered, his eyes narrowing with a predatory glint. "But words alone don't win wars, Michael." Michael's gaze was as sharp as broken glass. "No, but strategy does." He straightened, turning toward the door. "Consider this your only warning, Aaron. Next time we're in this room, it won't be as father and son. It'll be as opponents." He stepped toward the door, his pace unhurried, his back unyielding. As his hand grasped the handle, he paused, glancing over his shoulder. His eyes were filled with a cold fire that could burn down empires. "Enjoy the view while you still have it." With that, he opened the door and walked out, leaving Aaron alone with his whiskey, his reflection flickering in the amber liquid like a ghost of his own making. To be continued. Want to know what happens next? Part 2 is coming soon. Don't miss it. Subscribe now and be the first to uncover the next move in this deadly game of power and vengeance.